that the NDC initiated an expansion of it, but the quality of the runway is still a matter of question. It was envisaged by President Muhammad then that what happened in the Volta region will be replicated in Wa. You want to give us an assurance, because even Africa World has stopped flying to Wa because of the nature of the runway and the airport not being ready. You want to give us an assurance, Minister? Nominee?
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The outgone Minister of Aviation, Honorable Kofi Ada, indicated to me that processes has commenced for a contract to be awarded so that the tarmac of the Wa Airport is improved upon. So that, based on that, I can give you the assurance that something positive would happen to the Wa Airport. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And Chairman, just to end it, matter of comment, he doesn't need to respond to it. The Honorable Patrick Buama, as you travel to Nandom, Laura, you still see that it's just gravel they have poured. They haven't been able to put bitumen surface on the road. As you look at Mane through Bulenga to Funsi and Loa Road to Chansa, I hope I'm getting the names right, you see that the road infrastructure also needs some other issues, and probably water. You would have to liaise with the Ministry for Water Resources to see how you fix the problem in water. So, Chairman, I can only wish the nominee well and trust that he would continue to provide the encouraging leadership he has been providing in the last few years as Minister for the Upper West Region. I thank you, Chair.
Okay, Dr. Binsali, I spent 1 week in Wa and I enjoyed it. I actually lost my wallet there, but it was brought to me in Accra.
The second part. It was brought.
Yes, it was brought to me in Accra. Even though I lost it at Wa, about a month later, the immediate past MP of Wa East came looking for me because I had a card in it that bore my name. Whoever found it sent it to the MP, and he brought it to me here in Accra. So the people are nice and pleasant people. But it appears to me that since the creation of the region, one municipality itself is doing well, but we should make sure it extends beyond the Wa Township. Enthusiasm and business expansion to the other parts will help the community. That's my suggestion to you. I wish you well. You will hear from us.
Thank you very much.
For now, you are discharged.
Thank you very much.
COVID was ravaging our country, and due to the hazards associated with COVID, there was need for us to secure the borders to ensure that the spread of the COVID was brought under control. Today, COVID cases and even the mortality rate have shot up. And yet, the deployment in the Volta region is not as it was at the time of the registration. Doc, what was the true state of affairs at the time of the deployment? No, he was chairman of the Regional Security Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, His Excellency the President ordered that all borders, land, sea, and air be closed. So, in the Volta region, we have a very long border with the Republic of Togo, and what happened was that our regional public health emergency management team was formed, was in place, and we met, and we realized that our first 6 cases were imported from Nigeria into the country, into the region, in actual fact to the Ketu South municipality. So we were worried about how we're going to enforce the closure of the border, taking into account the number of unapproved routes that we had along the border, and the number of immigration officers, customs, and other securities services that were present along the border. So we put in a word to national security for some reinforcement, and that was the time that we realized that an order was given by His Excellency, and the Minister for Defense came to inform the whole country that there's an exercise going on to protect our borders. In addition to the COVID, there were also other security issues that were going on along our border, which was known to us. So there was increase in the deployment of troops and other security agencies, and I think that they played their role very well, and we got on top of the issues. We were able to police the unapproved routes very well, and with time we were able to put in place other technology to be able to monitor the borders more effectively. So, Mr. Chairman, even though the cases have increased of late, we still have the troops around. We still have the security agencies around, and we're still monitoring the situation because our borders have remained closed. So, as Regional Security Council and the border security committees with the various municipal and district security councils, we have to ensure that the borders continue to be adequately policed. So, Mr. Chairman, that's my answer.
Honorable nominee, what is your attitude generally towards Ghanaians resident in Togo, especially when it comes to participating in the civic duties of those Ghanaians resident in Togo, such as registration exercise and voting? Most of the time, the border is shut. What is your attitude towards these Ghanaians who are resident in Togo? I'm saying this against the backdrop that some time ago, when Ghanaians living in some part of Togo were affected, you were regional minister by then, our National Disaster Management Organization mobilized resources and actually crossed into Togo with your active support to give some relief to those Ghanaians.
Mr. Chairman, what I would say is that there are Ghanaians on both sides of the border. I would accept that there are Ghanaians on both sides of the border, but whether or not they are entitled to take part in certain exercises that we do in our country, I think that will be left, with all due respect, with the Electoral Commission or the other institutions that oversee these exercises and the various rules and regulations that regulate these exercises. So, personally, as long as the law entitles them to be allowed to do certain things in our country, I will have no objection. But when the issue is that when the borders are closed, that is very difficult for us to allow people in because the borders were closed for a specific reason. And once that reason is still valid and the borders remain closed, it is our duty to ensure that the closure of the border is enforced. Mr. Chairman.
Honorable nominee, your region in sometime just before the elections was also in the news due to the activities of some secessionist groups, notably the Western Togoland Study Group and other similar groupings in your region. Now, at some point, you were directly accused by some elements within one of the groups that you, in times past, was an active campaigner for one of the groups and actually financed it. What do you have to say about this accusation that was labeled against you at the time?
Mr. Chairman, I want to state before this honorable committee that those were allegations thrown at me by faithless individuals because as the chairman of the Regional Security Council, I had since March 2017, I had to lead my team to deal with this group. And so at the end of the day, they had to throw something at me. But I want to put on record that it is absolutely false. It is not true. And therefore, they should be that accusation should be treated with the contempt that it deserves. It's absolutely not true. I don't know them. I've never financed them. I've never been part of them.
Follow up and last question. So, honorable nominee, what measures have you put in place as chairman of RECSEC? I mean, if given the nod, you'd head that same committee to ensure that the activities of the secessionist groups that emerged, the Western Togoland group and others, is nipped in the bud once and for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We have taken, as a government, under the directives of His Excellency the President, meetings have been held, and as a government, we have decided to enforce the law. So we've made more than 100 arrests. Some are facing the law courts, some have been discharged, and we continue to make arrests because it's an ongoing operation that the security services are embarking on. But in addition to that, we think that we should continue with the public education because this group spends out a lot of falsehood Because when they started, they were very old people. But of late, they've managed to recruit some young ones. So we've engaged the Information Security Department, NCCE. We've talked with the Regional House of Chiefs, the Regional Peace Council, the various assemblies and assemblymen to go down to educate the young people that what the group says that the plebiscite, after the plebiscite, after 50 years, they were supposed to be granted independence, is absolute falsehood, and that there is nothing like Western Togoland. So we think that public education will play a very vital role in educating the young people to understand that what they are being told, because sometimes these people deceive the young ones they assure them that they are going to give them jobs. When the new country is established, they will be in the army, they will be in the police, and collect monies from these young people. So as we continue to do education, we believe that we'll make a headway, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. All right, Nilante.
Efulecha. Efon.
Mefo. Mefo.
First, let me ask you, are you a Togolese? Or do you have any member of your family who lives in Togo?
Mr. Chairman, I am Ghanaian. My parents come from a village near Ho, called Klefe. So I'm Ghanaian. But I had some relatives in the past who were in exile in Togo. Before the CCC school, they were in exile in Togo.
Anyway, I also partly come from Sokode, so I know your village very well. How do you feel when sometimes some members of your party, and let me also say, even the current vice president, term some of your people from the region as Togolese? How do you feel?
Honorable,
I said sometimes.
Please, there's no record that anybody has called any Ghanaian Togolese.
Oh, please. Just even last week, your Domelevo was said to be a Togolese. No. Is not?
Honorable, please don't answer. Kindly ask another question, please.
No, but I want to ask, okay, let me rephrase the question. How do you feel when some term some of the people from the Volta region as Togolese?
Mr. Chairman, I've not heard any Ghanaian being referred to as Togolese, and I have not heard any Ghanaian, and I wouldn't refer to any Ghanaian as Togolese, and I've not heard anybody referring to any Ghanaian as Togolese, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let me also take you to Aplau. Residents of the K2 South area especially have complained several times about the pollution they suffer from the cement company. According to the health officials in those areas, it's having serious health implications, especially on the younger population. As Regional Minister, what assurances are you going to give us, and what steps will you be taking in order to ensure that the health of your people is protected?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I will do everything I can. I would, if approved by this committee, honorable committee, I'll go back, organize the health officials, together with the Environmental Protection Agency and the public health officers and the municipal assembly, to see what we can do together to make sure our people are protected from this environmental pollution. Thank you.
On yours. Chair, with your leave, this is not part of what I wanted to say, but Honorable Nominee, my colleague talked about the pollution or at Aplau, the cement factory. Fortunately, I worked there some years back when I was into transport. Safety at the factory was a problem and is still a problem. And it appears from that time to date, nobody seemed interested by way of ensuring proper safety on their own premises. So please take a look. It's very important. People get injured day in, day out. And it is handled as if there's really nothing. Find out whether they have insurance policy for the workers, what safety measures. It's a factory for cement production. You will see people walking without helmet. Nothing. No, these masks, they don't even wear. It's there. Please take a look.
Mr. Chairman, I've taken notes, sir.
Chairman, last. There has been recent reports of encroachment on lands reserved for educational institutions. Several of them. The recent one being the University of Health and Allied Sciences. What are you going to do to ensure that such serious encroachment on lands reserved for educational institutions, the secondary schools, and are protected? Over the years, a region like Ashanti region has also suffered severe encroachment on their lands. And yours is starting. If we don't protect now, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. What will you be doing about this?
Chairman, what I'll do is when I get back, after your confirmation, I will consult the various boards or councils of the institutions and the administration, and for us to, together with the Lands Commission, find a way to address the issue, because it may differ from institution to institution. I know the issue of the Sokakope Senior High, where they even tried to fence the land, and there was agitation from the local communities why they were going to put a fence wall. We're still trying to address that problem with the school board and also the Lands Commission. So when I go back, I will try, after you have graciously confirmed me, to get the stakeholders together so that we'll have a roadmap, we'll develop a roadmap to address the situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Zera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Honorable Nominee. Honorable Nominee, our borders to Togo have been closed for some time now. I'm sure you'll be able to tell us for how long they've remained closed. Would you be able to say that you are on top of the COVID situation not on top? Are you familiar with the COVID situation in Togo and Benin, and whether we have done an assessment to see whether indeed we need to continue to hold the borders closed, or whether some other action has to be taken? And I'm asking this in relation to the trading activity that goes on between Ghana and Togo and Benin. We have the popular Tudu market where the Togolese, our women and young people go to Togo, get things and come and sell to make a living. How would you say the closing of the border has impacted on these activities, and whether we are doing constant reviews to see what can be done in order to bring some relief to people who survive by plying the routes through your border to Togo and Benin, and sometimes to Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I must admit that the closure of the border has affected businesses and livelihoods. But as has been said, we're trying to protect all of us because of the COVID outbreak. But the question asked by the honorable member has some international dimension, which is beyond the capacity of my office. So I believe that I will have to consult other colleagues who deal with these issues to put our heads together and find out, because it affects the whole country. And so I believe that I'll do the appropriate consultation and see what we can do to address the situation. Thank you.
Okay, leadership. Oh, very well. Let's.
Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, you have been regional minister for the past 4 years. And so I want to believe you know the happenings in Ketu South. There is a company called 7 Seas Salt Company. And there are a lot of tensions in Ketu South between the community and the company. What are you going to do to ensure that there is equity and sanity between the community and the company? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That issue came up a couple of years ago where there was violence and there was even a loss of life. The Regional Security Council had to take it up. We met the communities, and there is now constant dialogue between the communities, the assemblies, and then the company. And with a much more display of social responsibility from the company. And recently, I'm aware that some checks, there was an agreement between the chiefs and the community, and some payments have been made to the communities. So there is more harmony between the company and the communities as at now. So the situation is not as volatile as it was in the past, because there's always a constant interaction, and the Peace Council has also been involved. The RESEC is always on top with the Municipal Security Council. So I want to believe that with the way we are interacting with the community now, the company is not likely to have any conflict with them anymore. So that assurance I can give this committee. Thank you.
Follow up and last. The Adan area have been mining salt for quite some time now. So I think it would be great to work with the Member of Parliament for Ketu South, the people of Adan, as well as the MCEs, to ensure that you get benefit of best practices and have an amicable solution as soon as possible. Because I've also have cited letters. There isn't that much peace. You see that the community is still aggrieved about the quantum of compensation, and so there's still a lot of work to be done. So I hope you bring all these stakeholders together to ensure that there is equity in the mining sector in Ketu South. Thank you.
Well noted, Mr. Chairman.
Leadership.
Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Honorable nominee, I'm at page 5 of your CV. Starting from the top, you talk about religious leadership positions, and you come to point 3 of 5, parliamentary candidates 2008, 2012 respectively, 2009 to 11 regional second vice chairman, 2014 to 16 regional first vice chairman. Number 6 of point 5, patron New Patriotic Party Ho Central. 7 vice chair, voter regional campaign team for 2016. Then 2014 to 16, National Council member, the highest decision-making body apart from Congress. Member Voter Regional Campaign Team 2020. Then, if I go back to page 4, I see your public service record, and then at page 3, your employment history talks about your private sector intervention, businesses that you own, and all that. So, the combined effect of all of these is that you are a man who has seen it all. Correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
And you remember in 2017, when you were appointed, the joy with which your executives at the regional level received that honor from Mr. President. Joy.
Yes, I do.
Now, Honorable Nominee, I am putting myself in your shoes, and with the chairman's indulgence, let me spend a minute to narrate this little incident, something I went through. I received a voice note from a constituent after I had commissioned a project for the benefit of the community. And this message was that the people who followed me in my days as an assemblyman are bitter that they have seen nothing. So I demanded to know their names, because I know those people and I know what, by the grace of God, they have had, and those who abused theirs. Dr. Ledger, I know those that you moved with. Some may be bitter, rightly so, others too without justification. I wouldn't want you to answer why some people were all over demonstrating against you. But the ultimate appointer has confidence in you, Mr. President. We are in this political enterprise where there's daily nonsense, but we must manage. So please, you know, my dad is from Manlo. I am there. I am part of the region, though I chose my mom's roots in Efutu. Volta is where I started my schooling and everything. I've seen projects under your leadership. Your MCs, how you coordinated. This is a passionate appeal. It may be difficult, but you can do it. You are not alone in this. All right? You are not alone in this. It says, I will conclude with this. You know I'm your son, so I can advise you. So they say that we all sprung from the same stock, partakers of the same nature, and sharers in the same hope. Although distinctions amongst men are necessary to preserve subordination, yet ought no eminence of situation make you feel superior over the other. For he who is placed at the lowest ebb of fortune's wheel is equally entitled to our regard. Please take note. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very grateful.
Yes, Mr.
Chairman, I have no question for the nominee.
Very well. The Honorable Minority Leader said I should wait, but unfortunately, I have to close at this time. So, Honorable Nominee, we thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. You're discharged. You will hear from us later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
University of Witwatersrand.
What I want you to clarify is that when you went to that university, you went there as a final year student. In other words, because from the record, it's like you spent a year at Joburg, that university, and you were awarded the degree. So I want to know whether you did a credit transfer from Legon to that uni.
Mr. Chairman, the education institution over there recognizes what they term as recognition of prior learning. That whatever academic pursuit one has engaged in, for as long as they desire to do some more studies, must count. So that explains it.
Chairman, so following up from Deputy Leader, Honorable, you studied statistics and economics, is that right?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
You still remember the theory of economic cost, opportunity cost, do you?
Yes, Mr.
Remind us about it, what you remember about opportunity cost.
Well, in simpler terms, life is about choices, and we are faced with choices. Whichever one we opt for leaves the other one out. And so the price you pay for opting out for one, it's what could be termed as the opportunity that is lost, and it is the opportunity cost.
Thank you. You still remember your marginal utility cost curve?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Chairman, mine is just to go to the nominee page 3. And it's just out of curiosity for you to explain some matters that happened at the National Youth Authority. You were there 2017 to 2019. Are you aware that the president had to fire about 3 senior officers at the authority?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm aware.
Remember the wrong they committed which led to their firing?
Mr. Chairman, I'm unable to tell of any wrong that was committed.
Since you haven't committed any wrong, don't you see you are there? You are there because you didn't commit a wrong. I'm just doing it because you have indicated your responsibilities, monitoring programs and pursuing core mandate of the National Youth Authority. So if this was your role, as you have defined, what do you remember? Because I know it had to do with the procurement issue. I know that as a fact, and I can show you evidence of 3 letters that the president had to direct that it be fired at then chief executive of the authority. Do you recall that? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'm able to submit that by the grace of the Almighty God, I found favor with the president in the year 2017. He appointed me to the office of a deputy chief executive officer of the National Youth Authority. Mr. Chairman, my core responsibility was to assist the chief executive officer prosecute the mandate of the authority, which
Mr.
is
Chair,
to
with your
facilitate.
leave, what the honorable leader wanted you to respond to was not about what was on your CV. All he wants to know is that whether or not you were aware officially of their wrong. If it didn't come to your notice as part of your line of duty, say so and move on. That's all he wants.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the clarification. Exactly so.
It didn't come to your attention
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
as part of your line of duties.
Yes, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
well. That's why he said you are favored because you didn't do anything wrong. That's why you still have your job.
I'm most
He's
grateful.
happy with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You survive because you are not associated with it. The other day I was telling Chairman that our colleagues will have to appreciate the doctrine of privity of contract. That persons who are not parties to a contract cannot enjoy the benefit or suffer the burdens of the contract. I'm not relating you to it. But I'm just saying that in your CV, you are emphatic. I was responsible for supporting CEO. Were there any financial control failures? Bodi Ahinkro Road, Osai Kojo Krom, Akontombra Road. Will you give it some attention?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Already, what I can tell you from the brief I got from the immediate past minister is that the Benchima and Kwanta to Ajofua and Ajofua to Osei Krom has already been awarded. And even in the case of Benchima and Kwanta to Ajofua, I think the contractor has advanced in the works to the surface level of bitumen. So if I am giving the nod by this committee, I will pursue it with all the strength in me.
Which of the communities around the area will you assure me that you built a community or a district hospital for in the area, in the region, if you do become minister?
Well, I have taken time to understudy the health situation in the region. Mr. Chairman, the Joaboso Government Hospital serves a number of communities around. The last time I visited, I realized that it has two departments, one for the male ward and the other for the female ward. Unfortunately, the cubicles that host the male and the female patients are so small that for a district hospital that is so strategically placed as that, I think we need to expand. But then, if in terms of building new ones, I have body in mind.
I'm not saying it to assure me that the Honorable Ahi supports Abuedi should get a hospital. Chairman, I'm done. It's just that I want to tease the nominees man. Any plans to address youth unemployment in the region? Youth unemployment in the region, any plans? What will you do?
Mr. Chairman, there are a number of government programs that are doing very well in my region. And one of such is the cocoa rehabilitation program. If I am giving the nod, looking at the figures as they stand now, I will do all I can to scale it up to cover as many young people as they deserve to be.
Yes, I know why you
It's okay. Let me see. Oh, it's okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, before I start, I can see some dignitaries from our region. I can see the country from Dadieso, and I can see the Parliament Chief of Awirin, that's Enchi. I can see my cousin, who happens to be the regional chairman, MPP, who wanted to unseat me, but he couldn't. After I bruised him, he left body. So, Mama Kwaba.
Yeah, you're the best.
Good. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to which I welcome them. I just welcome them.
What did they also say? They have responded. We want the records to reflect.
Are you the chairman? Mr. Chairman, Honorable Minority Leader spoke about some roles in the region. The nominee is aware that Western region, Western North region, our major problem is the road network. There are several roads in the region which are on more trouble. And I am also aware that some of them have been awarded on contracts. Most of them were awarded during the elections. After the elections, they have packed and left. And some of them include the Anchi to Jeman Road, Dadieso to Anchi Road, some portion of the road, Amoya to Kalo Road, Bodi to Ahibensu Road, Nzaura to Akontoma Road, and several, and then the almighty Benchema Nkwanta to Oseko Jukrum. I know some of them have been awarded, but what are you going to do to ensure that under your stewardship, road network will be improved in the region?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the most important first step in the pursuit of getting roads fixed has been, as Honorable Samsiahi hints, has been undertaken. What is left is for me to sit with the engineers and the contractors and see how best, as a minister, I can facilitate for their payments of their certificate, so that work doesn't stall. At this stage, as you already said, the roads have already been awarded. So it is about monitoring and facilitating for the contractors to receive payment so they can continue with work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the nominee is aware.
Dr. Free, yes, you can come and sit at the back. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the nominee is aware about the fact that the major commercial activity for the people living in the Western North is cocoa farming activities. And he also aware that most of the cocoa trees are old now, and that in the past 4 years, Western region, before it was divided, was the leading producer of cocoa in the country. Today, as a result of climate change and some activities, production levels has reduced drastically. I know also for a fact that Cocoa Board is undertaking some agricultural practices to boost cocoa production. I mean, yes, cocoa, what are you going to do to ensure that we resuscitate cocoa activities in the region to provide living incomes to our people?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, anytime Western North comes to mind, one of the things that identifies us is the cocoa business. Honorable Samson Ahi has identified exactly what the current situation is. Production levels have dipped, but as he indicated, the government has started the cocoa rehabilitation program. It was piloted in the Bia district around the Yamicha area. And I think the outcome of that pilot was so instructive that we have had to scale it up. Yes, I know that the Western North used to produce no less than a third of Ghana's cocoa. But with the current program, which the President has started, the cocoa rehabilitation program, Mr. Chairman,
Chair,
what it does is that it takes care...
specifics. Sorry, Chairman, with your leave. When you say rehabilitation, it's quite general. Okay, if you have knowledge of the specific areas of rehabilitation, you can say so. But if you don't have it off head, you may proceed with the general. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chairman, so what is entailed is that they're supposed to cut down all the swollen shoot infested trees, and in place of that, government makes available seedlings for replanting at no cost to the farmers. That aside, the farmers also get monetary compensation for the lost period of farming. And then they also provided with inputs that, and then machinery which is supposed to aid the process of cultivation. These and many more are what are entailed in the cocoa rehabilitation program. And from what I said, the pilot was successful. I have no doubts in my mind as a regional minister designate, if I receive the kindest consideration of this House, with Cocoa Board right under my nose and the Ministry of Agriculture there, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to assure this House that I will work closely with these two important state agencies to make sure that that program succeeds in my region. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on tourism, the region has the capacity to boost tourism activities. When we go to Bosomanso, for instance, we are told there is a hole there where some of our forefathers came from. That hole is still there. It can be worked on to serve as a tourist center. Recently, Bonzai, also in the Draboso district, have also discovered waterfall. It needs to be developed. And I'm sure there are other centers that, when developed, can serve as tourism centers. What are you going to do? And also, our festivals, for instance, the Paramount Chief of Anyaso celebrates Yam Festival. You also does same, Dadioso and the Enchi. What are you going to do to ensure that these festivals are packaged so that it will attract people to come to the region, so that we can improve tourism activities in the Western North region?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start from where Honorable Samsiahi left. The issue of festival as a conduit to boosting tourism potentials within my region. Mr. Chairman, the issue of festivals are preserved for the traditional authorities. If this House approves of my nomination, I would not leave it at just the jurisdiction of the authorities. As a matter of interest, I will engage them and see how best we can scale the celebration up to levels where it invites as many people as possible, so that we are able to direct the celebration to tourist sites. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Samsiahi was spot on. If you visit my regional capital, Sefiwi also, about 4 kilometers away from the regional capital is the community that Honorable Samsiahi referred to, Bosomeso. There is a very wonderful hall there, and I'd like to take this opportunity to invite members of this committee, if I go through, because I'd like to give you a nice welcome. Mr. Chairman, there's a nice hall there that comes with its own magical narration. Even though it is covered by a lot of trees, no leaf falls inside that hole. And that's the hole that Honorable Samsiahi is talking about. Mr. Chairman, if you give me the nod, I will work harder to make sure that this becomes a common knowledge to all Ghanaians, so we can boost tourism.
And the waterfall in Bunzai?
It is also under consideration, Mr. Chairman.
Well. Huh? No, please. Please. Yes. Acting minority leader, so I have unlimited. Mr. Chairman.
Hold on a second. Chairman, the nominee must know that here, the shorter your answers, the more blessings you get.
Of that.
Mr. Chairman, as you can see that the nominee is capable of answering the questions. So allow him to listen, allow him to flow. Mr. Chairman, youth unemployment is a major problem in the region. And having worked with the National Youth Authority before, what specific programs do you have in mind to launch so that the youth in the Western North can also get opportunity to work so that they can take care of themselves and their families?
Mr. Chairman, I have identified government's program, the community mining program, as one such feasible way of getting more youth into employment position. Thank you.
My last issue is, Honorable Minister, I know that you have been appointed by Nanado MPP, the President of the Republic of Ghana, to represent him in the Western North region. In the Western North region is made up of all kinds of political parties, be it NDC, MPP, CPP, and so on and so forth. What assurance will you give to the people listening to you or watching you that you will become regional minister for all of them, but not a partisan regional minister, where you will skill everything towards the party that you are coming from? What assurances do you have for the people listening to you in the Western North region?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my tenure in office shall be guided by the Local Governance Act, which prohibits me from discrimination. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Zozu. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, congratulations once more. I think the nominee reminds me of University of Ghana. As a V-mate, I recall that when I was aspiring for SRC president, he was a campaign manager for my opponent. But
I hope you are not extending the competition here.
No, it's such a great thing to see him rise to this position. So congratulations once again, Honorable Rocky. So now I've been reading a bit about Western North, and I've realized that one of the challenges of the area has been teenage pregnancy. What would you do as Minister of the region to assuage the situation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I will take further brief from the Social Welfare Department to know exactly what the situation is. And once that comes to my attention, I will take right steps to address it. Thank you.
Very well. It looks like Honorable he has done all. Yes, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Floor to the Vice Chair. Let him finish. I don't know when you came in because I've been looking around. I didn't see you. Yes, ask your question.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity. Honorable nominee, my apologies for coming late. I don't know if your tenure at the National Youth Authority has been dealt with, and if you have explained to the committee why you were not happy that you were dismissed. Wasn't the one.
Well, he has answered that question to Honorable Haruna Idrisu, but
then I'll leave it there. I just wish you all the best.
Honorable nominee, date of birth 2nd April 1981.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
You are the second to be on that seat after the new region was created. If you get a nod, you'll be the second. Please, you have all the chiefs in the region. You have all the big men in the region, and you're a very young person. So first, you know that you are going to be an inspiration to the many. Please don't disappoint the young men and women who aspire to get into politics and would want to see you as a person inspiring them. Please don't let them down. Congratulations, sir.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
very well. Honorable nominee, we thank you for attending upon the committee to answer questions. You will hear from us later, but for now you are discharged.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.